And let me start sharing my screen. So welcome to week 3. We are brushing through. It has gone by so fast. I feel like Monday comes and Tuesday and then Thursday's already on our way. So it's been so quick. But just to put things into perspective for you, this is where we are. We're in April. And we're obviously in this week. We're going to finish next week. And then after that, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have 4 weeks left. I don't think you're going to participate in the first week of June. I haven't really decided with staff, but if everything goes according to what was going on when we were in physical school, then your last day is the first week of June. You do come to school, right? It's the second week. Okay, never mind.
The May or June 8th is when we would technically be like doing graduation ceremony practice.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but for sure, you have about 4 to 5 weeks left. So not a lot left, which is cool, but it's also, uncertain, especially because of your ceremony and knowing what. But to give you just a hint of hope, I was looking yesterday at the news, and the mayor was talking about reopening some parks today, which I feel like it's somewhat of a hope, just because
That's
last week.
what I did my current event on.
Oh, sorry, I don't want to spoil it then.
No, you're fine. That's kind of funny, yeah. I saw
but
that was like, that's...
I don't know. It's pretty cool. I feel like, I don't know, hope goes up and down, but I want to stick to some hope with having the ceremony for you guys, because you guys have worked so hard throughout these years to, kind of just say bye, coming back no more. I'm not coming back no more, and no ceremony or anything like that. So hopefully that is going to take place. All right. With that said, let me go to the agenda for today. So we already did our daily check-ins, and I do want to debrief the current events. So let's get started. I don't know. Oh, well, since Sierra is talking, we can ask Sierra to talk about her current event. And also remember to turn it in on Google Classroom. So I need to see the written form of it. But now we're going to debrief over it, okay? And then feel free to jump in. So let's make this a discussion, not just me talking or one person talking. So if more than at least 1 or 2 people can ask questions or kind of like continue the conversation and then jump in with your own current event. So this is local news. Let me put up everybody's face in there. There you go. All right. Okay, go ahead, Tara.
Okay, so it was the mayor pretty much saying that he'll have like a limited opening of parks in San Diego. And that also they'll be limited to like individual activities. So he's still abiding by like social distancing, face covering, and like other health related measures or whatever. And then he's also saying that like group activities like the sports and like the playground part and like the basketball court where people can gather together won't be allowed, as well as like parking lots, because it's just, if you open those up you'll end up having groups together. And then he said I wrote the quote down. It says, "We want to provide, of course, an outlet for people to be physically and mentally active as we grapple with this new normal going forward." So like he's just trying to like help people out during this time of the lockdown and everything. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Let me see. Ashley. She can hear me.
Yes.
So Sierra quoted something about staying physically and mentally active, and that's the reason why they're opening the parks. Do you think this could potentially backfire? Like, you're gonna start seeing, after you guys saw some protests this weekend about trying to get the whole thing to open back again. But do you think this whole measure could backfire, or it could actually be something good for the county? What do you think?
I think it's good. Oh wait, are you asking Ashley?
Yeah, and then you can go ahead and put in.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a good start
Mm-hmm.
because we definitely shouldn't be opening everything up all at once or like a lot of things all at once. So I think just opening up a couple of parks wouldn't hurt because so many people are already just, dying to get out and everyone's going so stir crazy. Like every time I go down to Borrego to take care of my horses, it's the traffic going down there keeps getting heavier and heavier, and people are just, yeah, so many people are just dying to get out and hiking literally in the middle of nowhere. So I I feel like it would be a good start to open up a couple parks and then gradually go from there.
Oh, that's nice. I went to Julian, I think 2 weeks ago, and I went on a weekend, and I was already seeing a lot of people walking on the
Yeah.
road, on the side of the road, and I was like, oh, I guess this must be okay because no one's saying anything. But also having in mind that people are just really tired of being at home. So,
Yeah.
all right, go ahead, Sarah.
So I was kind of just going off what Ashley was saying. Like, I think it could be a good thing. Also, like, I don't know, like, the whole lockdown thing, like, I don't know why, like, people are like protesting in Florida, like, all together on beaches. Like, I get that, but just little things like this, I think should be allowed, given, like, if you're looking at, like, the statistics of the coronavirus itself and the deaths and everything like that, I feel like we shouldn't be so limited to everything. So just doing the little things, I think, is good
It should
and
be
to
okay.
keep people like human. Yeah.
Yeah, maintain sanity. I think so. I think I agree. That's probably why people are protesting. I mean, here in San Diego, people want the beaches to be open because it's gonna start getting hot, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty unbearable if people are just staying home. So I can see why that's going on. Okay, let me see. Let me hear from Cheyenne. Your current event.
My current event was about the beaches in San Diego and how SeaWorld's allowing like their seals to go on the beaches since no like there. So that's what mine was about, because they basically, it was just like how SeaWorld a few months back had rehabilitated 2 sea lions. And then a few days ago, they just released them back onto the La Jolla beaches because they can monitor them while like no people are on the beaches.
Oh, so there's some
So
benefit.
it's like getting them back into the wild without like fully releasing them.
Oh, I see. Also, they're still working even though, so the animals are still there, obviously, and be taken care of, even though the park is closed.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. All right. Let me see. Let me go to Rosita.
So my current event was a little like gruesome, but it was about 15-year-old twins who were killed in a domestic violence shooting. And it started with this mom and her former boyfriend that she had then. And it was like a story about how he ended up killing her 2 twins. And like it said that at first he wouldn't talk to her, and then he just showed up at the house one day saying that he knew everything that he needed to know, and ended up shooting like a window, like a back window, and then one of the daughters tried to get him out, but like shut the door on him, but he ended up shooting her in the head. And then he tried going after the older siblings, because there was 3 older siblings, and then and then there was younger ones. And and then it ended up just being this whole thing that, and then one of the older kids, the son, was injured, but yeah, he went after the two daughters, ended up killing them, and then yeah, so it was pretty sad. But
yeah, it seems I think before that we went into or just about when we went into quarantine, there were a lot of voices that I heard speak about how domestic violence would probably increase during these times. And I guess nobody really ever expects that there's going to be killings involved, but just wanted to throw this out to the crowd. Did you guys hear in East County, I think it was in an Indian reservation, a teenage boy murdered another one just, I think, this past weekend. Did you guys hear anything about that?
I didn't hear about that one.
So yeah, looks like they were going to meet somebody. There was this girl with her adult boyfriend, and they went to see a Snapchat friend, which I don't know how that even works. Like, I guess you meet somebody over Snapchat and then you meet them. I don't know. I don't have Snapchat, but please don't do that if you have one of those. Anyway, they went over and they met in some Indian reservation. I guess that's what the boy lived. And something happened that when so the girl went with her boyfriend, who was an adult, so I guess he was older than 18. She got there and fires were shot and she was injured and she died later in the hospital. So warn you all against Snapchat. Well, not really against Snapchat, but just be careful. Don't be going out to meet some weird strangers. So yeah, that's my little story. Anyway, let me go to Sky. Go ahead, Sky. Can you hear
me? Okay. So I did my current event about how there's no new reports in Taiwan of the coronavirus.
Okay.
So the health minister of the CECC of Taiwan reported no new cases of the coronavirus on Tuesday and Thursday of that week. And so, I mean, the title was kind of misleading, but I still did it on it anyway. So he reported no new cases of the coronavirus on Tuesday and Thursday of that week. And before that, Taiwan had gone 36 days without any reports of new cases.
Mm-hmm.
And so out of Taiwan's total count of 395 cases, 340 were imported from abroad and 55 were contracted locally.
Okay.
Yeah, but overall it seems that Taiwan's case is kind of looking up for the better.
Yeah, I keep hearing this sort of thing that the whole pandemic begins with imported cases, then the community gets infected. That's the whole pandemic disease that goes through. And then once cases start going down, I guess that's when all these restrictions start easing up. So, but it takes, I don't know, I was counting in Wuhan. Do you guys remember how long ago when anybody ever first heard about the coronavirus? Like, I think it was late.
I heard about it in December.
Yeah, I heard about it, but just like everybody else, I was like, oh, well, that's in China, like pretty far away from us. It's probably not going to touch us at all. But I think from the start, so let's say it started in December, they started reopening the city last month or this month in March. So it took them 4 months to kind of start seeing a small surge in like not so many deaths, not so many people infected. So how long have we been under quarantine? We started March 13th. It's only been a month. So that's kind of where I get discouraged. I'm like, man, like all these cities took so many months to recover or at least start reopening stuff, and we're only a month in or almost 2 months soon. So that's where I get discouraged, but I don't want to throw my discouragement into you guys. It's just some ideas, but thank you, Sky. Let me see, who am I missing? I got Sierra, Rosita, Cheyenne. Let me go to Riley. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah. I did the same one as Sierra.
Oh, okay. All right. So then we won't debrief on it. But do you have anything else different to add on that?
I kind of like that it's just like, because it's sort of like your neighborhood one, especially because like you can't really drive there. So I kind of appreciate that, because I feel like if we were to open up everything right away, it'd just be like a cluster of people, and I feel like it would defeat the purpose of this month that we've already done. Kind of like Florida, like I'm waiting to see if Florida's numbers go up after those beaches got opened.
Yes, I've heard about that. I don't know. I guess you do it at your own risk. If you want to go with a bunch of people who you don't know where they've been, then yeah, you take the risk. But some people, I guess, are really willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
They must be really tired. So, all right, thank you.
I'm kind of weird. I'm confused on the protester. I mean, I get, like, I don't know where I feel about the whole constitutional rights.
Well, I mean,
because I'm like, oh, I want to stay safe, but I'm like, okay, I get it, but like, I don't think I would ever go and protest this right now, like, just for the common good. I don't know.
Well, I guess people protest for a lot of things. Go ahead.
The only reason like they're really protesting is because a lot of the news is lying about the deaths and what's actually like going on. Like there's a lot of fake news, and I think everyone's just kind of sick of it. So they're like, no, I'm not going to have my life limited by like people that are lying to me, you know?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I guess I could counter say that with maybe, if anything, they are underestimating the amount of people infected, the number of people infected, and the people dying. Well, maybe not the people dying, because they do have a record of who dies. Of course, there might be one or two who they don't know that died, and you know, they don't know why they died, and they might have died from the virus. But if you guys look in the news, I don't know if you guys ever seen, especially for San Diego County, like there's a daily count of how many people get infected. But underneath that daily count, and there's even a little map, I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but there's a little daily map in there that shows you like where the cases are at and whatnot. So underneath that map, there's a little caption that says to not be, I guess, for lack of a better term, to not be fooled by these numbers, because these numbers are usually 10 times higher than what they're being estimated. So I get what Sierra's saying, and if that's kind of one of the reasons why people are protesting in the streets and, you know, trying to get these restrictions to be lifted. If anything, the news are not saying the whole picture. There are a lot more people who are infected than the ones that are being counted for, because and this is from a personal experience. My brother-in-law, sister's husband, was sick maybe about a month ago. He had tons of headaches. He was even throwing up because of the headache. We all just thought that it was, you know, maybe a migraine or whatever. But knowing the circumstances, you know, he went to the hospital, and we're a little scared because he had been around us throughout that day. But turns out that they primarily tested people not for the virus, because not just everybody gets tested. So if you're sick, you go in, they ask you about your symptoms, and if they're not matching the symptoms that they see for in a coronavirus possible case or suspicious case, they send you home. He was sent home. He was like, well, you don't have a fever, you're throwing up, you look horrible, but you don't have a fever, so you're good to go. And if you get worse, come back. So that's where I see people, you know, and not everybody has a fever. Not everybody has that shortness of breath. Not everybody has all the symptoms. So if they go to the hospital and, you know, they're kind of dismissed because they don't have all the symptoms, but they still have the virus, that's when it becomes dangerous. And so I think that's, if anything, news may be underreporting, you know, and I feel like if they were to tell us, oh, there's 10,000 cases in San Diego County, people would freak out. Like, they would freak out. And so I think just to avoid a little bit of that freak out, they don't tell all the numbers. But just be careful out there. You know, don't take it for granted. There are people dying for sure. That was probably the most accurate statistic, the deaths. So, but we've had, I believe, 70 deaths in San Diego County. So yeah, it hasn't been as drastic as maybe New York City or the other states that have been hotspots for it. So we've been okay. All right. Let me hear from Ashley. Go ahead.
Okay, so can you hear me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So mine's super simple and short, but it was one of the first articles I saw.
Yeah.
It's basically just about if they're gonna keep Comic-Con open or not.
Oh.
They still haven't shut the event down.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in July, so they're still waiting to see if they should shut it down or not. I'm pretty sure it will be. And they were talking about how because of the San Diego, the Del Mar Fair being closed down, usually it follows directly after that. So since that was canceled, they're probably going to cancel Comic-Con too. But yeah, that was it.
All right. And just to comment on that, I think somebody... Okay, Joshua turned it in. Just to comment on that, San Diego Comic-Con is probably one of the biggest revenue bringing. It brings a lot of revenue to the county, lots of jobs, and so that all that is going to be affected. So yeah, the economy is definitely taking a big toll. Oh, but I have some good news for you guys. So now it's me. This is some very local event happening to me right now. So when we left, maybe I told you about it, maybe not. So I don't know who I tell stuff to, but you guys, I trust you guys more than everybody else because you guys are older. So what day is today? The 21st. I don't know what day I live in. Today's the 21st. In 9 days, if everything goes well, I'm going to be paying off my car. So finally, I'm going to be sending the last payment. It's been like such a crazy roller coaster, but I am very, very happy to say that I did it in a year and 5 months. So just thank God. I am just so thankful. Family and friends have always been there for me. But yeah, you guys know the whole story when it broke down. It was horrible. But yeah, so finally I'll be able to pay it off. I won't have a car payment anymore. I don't know, it's just really cool feeling. I had the loan for 6 years, like every other regular loan for a car. But I just didn't want to wait anymore. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buckle up and pay it off. And so yeah, it's becoming a reality. So I'm kind of counting the days because, and the only reason why it's the 30th is because that's the day that I get paid. So I'm gonna just send it all in. So yeah, so super happy that went on.
Congratulations, Ms. Rosas.
Thank you. Yes, I'm really thankful. I was always like praying about it and saying, please, I need to pay this off. And now it's finally becoming a reality. So I'm really thankful. I think Josh got kicked out. Let's see. But I did see him turn it in.
Sierra got kicked out as well.
Sarah?
Yeah, because her screen just went blank. Like it still shows her here, but I don't think she's.
Oh yeah, it freezes sometimes. Okay, all right. Oh, thank you. Okay, got it. So you emailed it. Perfect. Thank you, Riley. All right, so that was that. Thank you all for sharing your current events. Just trying to stay in. And one of the biggest reasons why we do current events, yes, we want to stay informed, but we also, when we read those things, we're practicing our skills. So reading skills, especially because the news write a bit of a higher level. So just getting used to checking events around us, local and national. It's something that you should be doing as you move on. So now that we've done our current events, so I want you to take out your notes. Go ahead and the notes are for the how to get ready for college research. So we started reading this research that's put out by Avid since 2012. So it was put out by Avid in 2012. And it talks about the interesting idea. There's some interesting ideas in here about what it is to transfer from being a high school student to being a college student. And I just wanted to give you guys this idea that no matter where you go, your identity is what is going to keep you through. So last time we were talking about a few pieces of advice for newer students, and I think the one that stood out the most was the things that you should do and the things that you shouldn't do. And it all had to do with identity. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and ask you guys, and also pull up your questions so that we can ask each other's, and that's how we're going to review the reading. Let me see. Okay. All right. Thanks. So if you're able to, who is here? Okay, we have a few people. Okay, cool. So go ahead and take out your questions. Go ahead and take out your notes. So I'll begin. There's Josh. I'll start. So in the beginning, so this is like his introduction, right? He is talking about this involvement between a high school student to college, or if, you know, he does mention being an employee and adjusting to a specific culture. So let me hear from Ashley, since I think your microphone is a better one. Okay, so what does he mean by adjusting to the culture when you're out of high school and trying to get into college or being an employee?
Well, the culture of college and being an employee is a lot different than high school.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the author is trying to say, like, don't, assume that it's going to be just like high school. Don't assume that it's going to be the same way. So maybe give yourself a little time to adjust to whatever culture you're in. For example, if you're starting a new job, take it slow and like make sure you live somewhere close by, just so you can like take your time adjusting.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. So let me go to the chat really quick. Okay, yeah, Josh, that's okay. All right, so yes, as Ashley was saying, take your time to adjust to that culture. And what he meant, or the author meant by culture, is here. He was talking about these complex processes, and I'm highlighting if you can see it. Eligibility, financial support, admissions, positions in your workplace. The culture has to do with the environment, right? What are the customs? What are the things that people usually do? And of course, you don't have to adjust to everything. I think it has to do a lot with your identity. Not everything that's offered in the college. You have to take a lot of the time when you guys, especially in the beginning of your freshman year, you'll see sororities and the Greek life trying to kind of lure you into getting into one of those organizations. And it's up to you. It's up to you whether you get into a group of like that, or maybe, especially I would say for like specific careers like nursing or lawyers, people who are trying to be lawyers, doctors, engineers. There are certain groups of people who offer support and resources. But I would say that, just like the author is saying, take everything with a grain of salt. Just because it looks like a great opportunity, it doesn't mean that it'll be a great opportunity in the long run. So don't just think in the short term, and I'll put a scenario. Let's take Cheyenne, for example, right? She's going to go into college, and first time walks into the hall and she sees a bunch of girls advertising for this really cool, it's a sorority, the ones that are for girls. There you go. Yeah. So they're advertising, and they're engineers. They look like they're super focused. And, she goes to a meeting and then realizes these girls just party. So choice, right? They're really cool, super chill. They do homework and whatnot. But Cheyenne is a little bit more focused than that. So what would you think? What would you choose? Let's put you on the spot, Cheyenne. Just knowing yourself, do you think you can keep up with the group, or would you just rather kind of not go in?
I don't know. I guess it just depends on like what they're more focused on. Cause like, I mean, you can party sometimes, but still be focused on your schoolwork. So I guess it just like depends on really what they are focused on. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, and your focus as well. So that's what I wanted to get into. He talks about keeping your focus and keeping your identity intact. And trust me, you will change. You know, if you ever visit me in Julian 4 years from now, when you're a junior in college, or you've been out of high school, you will change. You do transition. You grow up, basically. You've been out there in the world for a couple of years now, and you change. You learn to be resourceful for yourself. But keeping your identity, keeping your focus, knowing what you want to do is what's going to keep you through. And, you know, while there's nothing wrong with having fun in college, if that's all you're having, then yeah, maybe you won't graduate as soon as possible. So he also talks about some of the necessary skills, and this is going to lead me into some of these. So go ahead and pull up your questions. Let me hear from Rosita. So regarding pages 3 and a little bit of 4, can you let us know one of the questions that you made? So in here, I don't know if you guys saw this or just kind of overlooked it, but he has 4 keys to college and career readiness. The first one is think, and let me zoom in a bit. He talks about problem formulation, research, interpretation, communication, precision, and accuracy. And then he talks about the know, the structure of knowledge, challenge level, value, attribution, and effort, go, post-secondary awareness, the cause, matriculation. Matriculation is just your career awareness, role identity, and self-advocacy, and then act, ownership of learning, and learning techniques. So that you might have overlooked because he obviously goes into detail over there. So go ahead, Rosita. Tell us the question that you made. Yeah, any question that pertains to page 4.
To page 4?
Yeah, so this is where he's debriefing about what those skills he's talking about in this little image that he puts up here.
Well, for level 1,
yeah,
I had locate in the story where the key transition knowledge and skills are.
Very good. Awesome. So which would be this one. Let me go to Sky. So he talks about the key transition knowledge and skills. What does he mean by that? And he gives you a whole thing. And you can read off of it and kind of explain it after if you want. She can hear me. Can you talk, Sky? I think she can. Let me go to Riley. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we're here
to answer or a new question.
So she had a small question about kind of like find the transition knowledge and skills necessary. So now I'm going to extend on the question. It's a really bad thing. Sorry, my audio is kind of acting up. To just expand on what this section of the reading says.
Okay, and I also went further, so I'm a little confused. I'm on page 4.
Yes. So this is page 4.
Okay.
And then the third paragraph down. That's what we're talking about here. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So go ahead and guess that, and then try to explain in your own words what it says.
Read it.
Yes, please.
What did you say? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
read it.
All right. Key transition knowledge and skill
Go ahead.
are necessary to adjust to and perform successfully within, and skills are able to thoughtfully explore their options, identify, and obtain the necessary resources, complete the numerous steps necessary to pursue their chosen post-secondary path, and are prepared for the challenges that come with adapting successfully to the new environment of post-secondary education. We use the term transition readiness to describe the level of preparation students need to reach upon completing high school to be ready to enter the workplace or college successfully.
Very good.
Go
ahead.
So I really don't understand, like, it doesn't really explain how to do that. It's just saying, like, they're just summarizing their terms. So, because, like, later on, it kind of describes, like, how we can actually be readiness and stuff.
Yeah, just, I guess what
and then, like,
he's obviously
social media role and identity.
Yeah. So he's preparing the audience for what's going to come next. And he's, stating that, in fact, people do need to get ready when they transition. So that's it's sort of like an intro to the following stuff. So let's dive into the meat of this whole reading, which is the actual skills and what you kind of need. So he says that there's 6 transition skills: the role and identity, post-secondary awareness, the cost, matriculation, career awareness, self-advocacy. And these 6 are the ones that you want to have when you're transitioning into college. So let's begin with role and identity. And Cheyenne, since you only made 3 questions, I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to answer, okay? So what does he mean by the role and identity? What role does that play in being ready for college, according to the reading?
What I kind of got out of it was the idea that, like, you want to take on the, like, objective of what you're going into. So either it be like work or school related, you want to take on that, like, I guess, identity of what you need to do while you're pursuing that culture. So, like, if for school related, you want to take on the identity of being a student and trying to do your work on time and all that stuff, and, like, be independent on your own. And then, like, the same goes if you were going into, like, the work field already, you would want to go in with, like, being responsible and taking on your job as if it's important, like it should be. So that's kind of what I got out of it.
Very good. So yes, taking this new role, and you guys have been students for most of your life. I want to say that ever since you were 5 to now, you've been a student, and you're going to continue to be a student throughout these 4 to 5 years that you spend in college. But now, unlike the other schools where you were just a student in middle school, where you're just a student in high school, now you're a student to become something. So I know Rosita wants to be a chef, right? Wants to bake, wants to do all kinds of things relating to cooking. So when she, and I'm just putting her as an example, but everybody else has their own, kind of identity that they're about to take. When you step foot in college, you have a purpose. And your purpose, or at least for Rosita, she wants to be a cook. She wants to be a chef, right? That's going to be her purpose. So everything that she does throughout those 2-3 years that she's going to be in that school, in the culinary school, everything that she does has to do with that. So he says there's this individuals, this goals that identifies you guys as individuals, your beliefs, your values, the attitudes that your family and cultures have. And especially during this time when you guys are kind of growing up, now that you're here by yourself, like Cheyenne was saying, you're independent, now you take up on this new role. Okay, I'm no longer just a student. I'm preparing to become the next, I don't know, I think Cheyenne wants to walk on the moon. That's the person who she wants to do, right? Or she wants to be. So everything that surrounds her, let's see, I think Ashley is looking to be a teacher. So everything that she focuses on for the next 2-3 years is obtaining that. And if you have that as your sort of like, that's your goal, that's the end of everything, then you're going to keep focused, and nothing that comes your way will stop you from that, because that's who you are now. You're no longer just a student. So I know that these words seem empty now, but when you're struggling in the first or second year, that's what keeps you there. It's your why. Why am I here? You know, what am I trying to do when I am done? You know, what about my family? And family, believe it or not, weighs in a much way, especially those of you who are close to your families. You think of them. You're like, if I quit, what are they going to say? And you're not just so much there for them, but you do think about them. You know, you do think about the people who you're going to have to say, I quit college. And, you know, it's hard. It's a hard transition, but keeping yourself and your role, yourself aware of the new role that you're taking, is going to keep you grounded. So let's go over the academic identity. So he, or the author, talks about scholars instead of students. And lately, in the past maybe 2-3 years, I've seen this word thrown around, especially in high school, that you guys are not students, you're scholars. And I want to dive into and dig into, what does the author mean when he talks about being a scholar and not a student? Let me go to Rosita. Go ahead, Rosita. Everybody else's microphones work.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the page.
It's page 5.
From my notes to this.
Yes, go ahead. So this is page 5. Like most of page 5, and it's a blue thing. And he's talking about developing an academic identity, scholars instead of students.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Is it under week 1 class materials?
Oh, you're trying to find the reading?
Yeah.
No, it's under week 2. On Thursday, where it says, read how to get ready for college research. But you could also just get it off here. I have it on the screen.
Oh.
Right there. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
The transition?
Yes. So it says here, developing an academic identity, scholars instead of students. What does he mean by that? What does he mean by this transition between scholars instead of students?
Well, the transition to college presents a prime opportunity to redefine or define who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Things keep popping up. Okay. As school students must change to become good college students because the roles and environments differ. Independence, structure, autonomy, and complexity, the identities necessary to navigate successfully through, each differ too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to read the whole thing?
No, just tell me in your own words, what did he meant by kind of transforming from a student to a scholar? What does it mean to be a scholar?
Like changing kind of how you can view things. Like, you need to be in the mindset of a college student and not of a high school student, and be able to work as because you're not learning, but as you're taking in this new role as a college student, you need to be able to, I don't know how to know how to do that.
That's okay. I'll take away the spot from you just so I can help you. Okay, so he talks about scholars, and scholars is a new identity that a lot of people have thrown out there, because a scholar is not just a person who is learning things for the sake of learning because he or she is being told to. A scholar sees the value of learning to add into their life, so add value. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. Especially in California, the more things you add to your home, like you add a pool, you add solar panels, it adds value to your home. Whenever you sell your home, you might have bought it for, I don't know, 300, 400,000, and now it'll sell at 700,000 because of the things you've added into it. So a scholar sees knowledge, the stuff that they are taking in from their professors, as something that's going to be of value in their lives. So most of you have heard, have felt the idea that, what am I going to do? How am I going to use this in my life? And I think college will still feel like that for the first or even second year. Like, how is this knowledge even going to help me out in some way, right? But what he's saying is that when you transition from high school to college, your mentality has to change. And this is all because your motivation needs to be maintained. You cannot be motivated, and I say this from personal experience, if the knowledge that you're receiving you think is useless. You think of it as useless. You're like, I hate this class. I don't even know how it's going to benefit me in the long run. I don't even need it for my career and whatnot. So it's easy to fall in that and then give it less importance, right? Like for you guys, most of you have clutter in your closet. Am I right? Right? You have a bunch of stuff that you don't use from like 5th grade. Your teddy bears are probably stuff in there, whatever it is. But those things are useless. You don't use them anymore. It's not like they're part of your life. And you probably forgotten that box that you stuff in there. So when we are students and we're receiving this knowledge, there's kind of 2 places where we put stuff. One is in the closet, abandoned, nobody cares about it. You're like, trigonometry, never going to use it in my life, right? Versus knowing how to read, definitely going to use it in my life. So in college, if you go in and I'm not saying take everything in and accept it as in face value. No, always be critical, always question stuff. But as you go in, the way you maintain your motivation is by seeing such knowledge with a scholar identity, mentality almost, right? That everything you're taking in is going to help you somehow. Even if your brain is telling you, nope, this is useless, you're wasting your money, brain is going to do a lot of things. But you have to have in your heart and your mind that these things, whatever you're learning in your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th year of college, is going to help you in the long run. And if you feel like it's not helping you, then you do something about it. You search for something. That's why a scholar is different than just a student. A student receives knowledge, puts it in the closet, puts it in this is really important, and that's about it. A scholar strives to know more. If it's not useful, how can I do more? How can I look for more things? And as we're talking about these things, don't want you to lose sight. You're still going to have to turn in stuff. You're still going to, like, all that routine, like, let me meet this deadline, let me do these things, are still going to be there. But your mentality needs to change so that you're not just turning in things to finish the assignment. Like, what value can you add into your life by learning these things? And that's going to keep you motivated, because trust me when I say, at times you're going to want to quit. Like you just want to quit. You don't want to be there anymore. You are tired of it. There's a lot of things that are pressuring you. But developing this new identity of, I'm not just a student receiving all this knowledge. you have a brain too. You know, you have knowledge, you have stuff to bring to the table. Keep yourself curious, keep yourself wanting to know more, wanting to explore more, especially for those of you who are going to get into careers that you've never known, right? That you've never even experienced. Don't just settle for what's been told to you. You know, go on for more. Be a scholar. Don't just be an empty bucket that everybody's trying to fill in. No, you already have knowledge to offer. You already have things. So that's when so I'm just interpreting what he's talking about here. Interact more with faculty and other students. Expend more effort to learn and grow, and more likely to self-evaluate. Keep skeptical of your own self-constructions and worldviews. Demonstrate openness to new ideas, and have cognitive complex coping and problem-solving strategies. You have these things. Maybe you haven't seen them, but you have them. I've seen them into you. When you guys are confused, you ask questions. You know, you don't just stay there. And that's probably why I was telling Jeremiah and Sierra, you know, be proactive. Like, if you don't understand something, speak up. You know, don't stay there and say, oh, poor me, I don't understand. So we're gonna stop right here since we didn't go through the rest of the stuff. I think we only read through page 5, but today I don't want you to read. Next class, when we come in, we're gonna do some more reading on this. But I guess the biggest thing that I want you guys to take from today is think about what that's gonna look like. Think about what changing from a student to a scholar will look like for you. And I don't want you to write anything or, you know, do anything with it. Just think of it. What does it mean to you? What does it look in real life? How is it tangible? Where you've probably been careless about it at times. How is it that you're going to be more proactive about your learning? You know, if you don't understand something, how are you going to look into it more? Or are you just going to settle for, I'm confused, I don't understand this, you know? So how will you become a scholar? So think of it, because I'm going to ask you next class, okay? I'm going to end the meeting right now. Let me stop recording, because I got to move into my next class. But it was so good